So much drama this week. I hope you've got a good cocktail for me because I am at my... Oh, hey! Hi! It's me, Wilma Fingerdoo with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 4, Episode 3. So let's get to it with my favorite part. Jorge, drink me! Ooh, look at you with a fancy glass and a bendy strundo garnish. I see no... What is this? Oh, a mimosa. I love a mimosa. Oh, is there any orange juice in that, or is it just pulp on the top? Which was also my drag queen name in high school. Okay, so let's get to it. We started the week off by saying bye to Farrah Moan. God bless her. And can I just ask, who doesn't know what XOXO means, Monet? Seriously. You didn't know that that was hugs and kisses? Clearly you're spending too much time with emojis and not actually using writing skills, which surprises me. Because you seem smart-ish. Seriously. Speaking of being serious, I have to say, I really admired Valentina's reasoning for eliminating Farrah Moan. I mean, she was in the bottom the week before, she was in the bottom last week, and clearly, with Monique being in the top last week, what was she gonna do? She couldn't kick out Monique. Not when Farrah was having so much trouble. I'm so serious, and really, while I'm on this subject, that's a little something I think that All Stars 2 could have used. No offense to Roxy Andrews, but seriously, some people skated by, while others, I think, would have done better being in there. But then again, that's why they kicked them out. They don't want competition. Manila. Clearly, Monet felt the same way because she also had Farrah down her top. Well, I mean the lipstick, not actually Farrah. She'd fit, but no. Of course, Gia was at it early this week with her backhanded comments, saying she tried to get closure with Farrah by being a bully. I'm so serious. I'm glad Farrah didn't accept her declaration of love, and I'm also very glad that none of the other queens are buying what Gia's selling, seriously. What I'm not clear on is how Monet thought she had done better than Valentina. I'm so serious. I mean, she did say that she had won the challenge, but I'm going to call shade on that because I think she clearly top two. The person who wins the challenge each week is the person who wins that final lip sync and sends someone home. So, Monet did win something, but she didn't win. That was Valentina. Bless. Clearly, Trinity had no trouble believing that Monet wasn't the winner because she called her out on it by attacking her soft spot. Her wardrobe. Poor Monet. She tried to throw it back at Trinity, but I'm sorry. Her argument that the dress that Trinity wore for the Mariah Carey lip sync doesn't hold any water. I thought she looked fine. I thought that the dress was all... I mean, was it spectacular? No, but it's better than a lot of stuff I have. I'm so serious. And I have to agree with Trinity. I didn't like this little tinfoil princess outfit that she wore. And the reveal thing, it didn't stand up against what Valentina wore. And I think after wearing that red velvet gown, Monet has set a bar for herself that I wonder if she's gonna get her padded ass over every episode. I'm just wondering, seriously. But there was no time for that fresh drama because it was another new day in the workroom and another new fashion pose from Valentina, which is clearly starting to get on Monique's nerves, just saying. But before Monique could tell America about it, there was Ru with this week's Maxi Challenge, the Snatch Game, hooray! But there was an All-Stars twist to it. They did a mashup of Snatch Game and Love Connection, so a Snatch Game of love. And I have to say, out of the gate, I was a little worried about this because as much of a train wreck as a Snatch Game has become over the years, it's still a defining challenge for these queens because it separates those with any kind of observational skills, talent in acting, and an ability to be funny on the fly from the rest of the girls. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be a drag queen if you can't be funny on the fly, but it certainly helps when you're on RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm so serious. And then it was time for the gag of the season. Gia announcing that she was going to play Caitlyn Jenner. Now, in of itself, this wouldn't be that big a deal, except that Trinity the Tuck was also going to do Caitlyn Jenner. So, right away, I got hunkered down for a battle royale, I'm just saying. Because, you know, Trinity wasn't going to budge, And you know in her mind, Gia wasn't going to budge. But the thing about Gia that I've noticed, she seems very, very worried about what other people think of her, what they're thinking of her look or whatever, because she seems to be affected if she gets a side eye. And she got the side eye, especially from Latrice, when she showed them her impersonation of Caitlyn Jenner. Now, I think the obvious thing to say right away is, well, Gia's Asian, she can't play Caitlyn Jenner. Well, I think the bigger thing to say is she shouldn't play her just because she's trans. And I'm glad that the rest of the girls felt that as well. Because I think if you're casting somebody in a part, we can have these discussions. Should they be trans for a trans role? Should they be gay for a gay role? We're never going to get to the end of that questioning. But when you're doing an impersonation, you want to look like that person right away. You want people to go, that's them. With Trinity doing Caitlyn Jenner, well, there was no question. It was exactly who we thought she was doing. And then that in of itself, I think, was reason enough for Gia not to do Caitlyn. But she seemed to get thrown by the other girls. It was very easy for her to then make some lateral move to some nail technician who does Cardi B's nails. Now, I'm not disparaging anybody's talent or skill or success, but a nail technician isn't a celebrity. A nail technician is celebrity adjacent. No offense. This is a celebrity lookalike, a challenge, not an Instagram-alike challenge. I'm just saying. And I was with Ross. I didn't know who this nail technician was, and I didn't know if that was how she talked to everybody. But I did have a moment thinking, oh, if Gia is a fan of someone like this, now I understand why she's talking to everyone else like this too. Seriously. I think she should pick better role models, what I thought at the time. Seriously. But I do have to admit, I wish that Gia had stuck to her gun. See what I did there? And did Caitlyn too. And then we could have seen who did it better. Especially after Gia was so insulting on a personal level with Trinity about why, in the end, she should do it. Because of her nose. Seriously. Someone else's celebrity choice I wish the girls had talked them out of was Monet. Because the minute she said Whitney Houston, I knew she was gonna suck. And she did. Hard. No offense to Monet, Whitney Houston is a hard personality to emulate because she was very poised and contained in the public eye. Well, until she wasn't. So it's hard to emulate Whitney Houston without making her look like a drug-addled clown. But I do have to admit, I liked Monet's idea of every time Rue turned to ask her a question that she would be sweatier and sweatier. Because this is one of the things I loved about Whitney Houston. I sweat like a champ. I don't even need to, I'm sweating now, I'm not even moving, I'm just so serious. So when I saw some skinny little doll-like creature like Whitney Houston pouring sweat out of every pore, I had to love her because I know her battle is my battle. Just saying. But clearly she didn't give it much thought beyond that because her execution was a big fail. Now listen to your Auntie Wilma, children, because whether you're doing female impersonation or celebrity impersonation, it's all about the minutiae, the finer details, the subtleties that sell. The illusion is what I'm trying to say. We should all learn from this mistake because clearly Valentina didn't. Now don't get me wrong, I think that her Eartha Kitt was the best looking Eartha Kitt on RuPaul's Drag Race yet. She even had the voice down. It was fantastic, but who cares when everything out of that face is painful to listen to? I'm so serious. I mean, Chi-Chi DeVay knew less about Eartha Kitt on season 8, yet her performance was way funnier than Valentina's. I'm just saying. Speaking of funny, Naomi Smalls was a hoot as Wendy Williams. I'm so serious. I didn't even recognize her. Her makeup job was spectacular. I mean, it couldn't have been easy for her to hide that new upper lip is all I'm saying. Either way, she totally redeemed herself from the last time she did Snatch Game. Seriously. Another queen who I thought picked a perfect person to impersonate was Monique as Tiffany Haddish. But the only problem with impersonating a comedic person is that they're already funny. So you've got to up their game and make them even funnier than they really are, which I feel Monique didn't do. She totally encapsulated the Tiffany Haddish aura, but it just didn't blow my skirt up is what I'm saying. Speaking of getting blown, poor Latrice Royale, I am so serious. I just want to say, it seems that Latrice's lot in life is to suffer through lousy snatch games. So here's to you, Latrice. God bless you. You should deserve an award all on your own just for surviving 2 train wrecks. I'm so scared. And Manila was right. With all of Latrice's eye rolling, it did look like she was getting some lower love, if you know what I'm saying. I know you know what I'm saying. Now, I will say this. Regardless of how aggressive and dismissive Gia was, I wish that Latrice had taken a page out of Trinity's book and used her characterization of Della Reese and directed it to corral Gia, the way Trinity did as Caitlyn Jenner. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, though, poor Latrice. Which brings me to Gia Gunn, bless her. You know, I realized while watching this episode that while the one team was filming the Snatch Game, the other team was just on the sidelines watching, so they're aware of how well it's going for the other contestants. And Gia, you have to be blind to not see that Trinity killed it as Caitlyn. So I think she panicked. And by panicked, I mean attacked. I'm just sorry she attacked Latrice, that's all. Of course, Trinity killed it. Was there ever any doubt? She's so funny. And her characterization of Caitlyn Jenner was so broad that it allowed her to interact with the other girls and keep the shenanigans to a minimum. Valentina, twice. Manila Streisand was a huge surprise for me as well. But my only regret in her performance was that she didn't contour that prosthetic nose. She just put the nose on and felt that was enough. I wish she treated it like it was a real nose, because it just kind of came off as some neutral blur above her lip. That's my only critique of Manila Streisand. That she couldn't sing, but that's not a crime. Later in the workroom, it was clear that Gia was in trouble, as was Monet and even Valentina. But I'm happy to say it didn't stop her daily costume parade. She looked good, I'm just saying. I am glad that Trinity called her out on how unfunny her Eartha Kitt was. Not that there's any crime in not being funny, unless, of course, you're doing the Snatch Game. Of course, Valentina thought she was brilliant. Brilliant at sucking. At least Gia had the wherewithal to know she was in trouble. Why else would she try to suck up to Latrice, who clearly felt sabotaged by Gia's performance? Even Manila said that her comments, which were not funny, came off as insulting and dismissive. Phoebe O'Hara. As the queens were getting ready for the runway, I was so surprised and so happy to hear that Latrice Royale was getting married, especially after, in season 4, her saying that she didn't think that gay marriage should be called marriage. I understand what she's saying. I feel her, but she was such a strong advocate for gay marriage, and I'm so happy that she found somebody. Look at that little ginger so-and-so, yummy. Christopher is his name, and you can tell that they are in love. You should watch their Couples for Cash on World of Wonder YouTube channel, just saying. Another workroom confession, Manila dated girls, who knew? Now, I'm not judging, I'm a Gold Star gay myself, but I love that she said she loved all her girlfriends, good for her, and that she thinks that human beings in of themselves are beautiful creatures. And then another confession, well, more of a statement, Monet asking people if they believed in aliens. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist, I'm not saying they do exist, but seriously, after her statement last year about Americans and British people's accents and where they came from, which I looked it up and she was right. I don't know what I'm afraid to know what she's saying about aliens, because she's right about that too. We're all in trouble, just saying. And then it was time for the runway, and hello legs. Look at RuPaul all sexy and barely dressed. I love when she shows off her legs. I mean, seriously, before there was Naomi Smalls, there was RuPaul, supermodel of the world, just saying. I'm just sorry that she didn't wear boots to boot the house down. But it's her show, she can do what she wants. Of course, RuPaul wasn't the only one not wearing boots. Neither was Naomi. Now, at least she had like leather leggings on, gladiator sandal top to those strappy shoes. But still, we can all agree they weren't boots. Whose boots were fabulous? Well, let's just say Monet's boots were great. That whole Transformer slash BMX look of hers was delicious. I also really did enjoy Trinity's boots, although some of the buckles, the came on, I mean, I think they should have all been out so they looked like fringe. It just looked a little haphazard on her. I'm not saying I didn't like it, I'm just saying could have been better. Someone else who could have been better, Monique. I didn't mind her Little Red Riding Hood theme, but those boots came off as very costumey. They were gorgeous. I love the red fur and I like the lights in the eyes. But I don't know. Something about them just kind of sat in the middle for me. Somebody else who sat in the middle as far as boots went, clearly, was Valentina. Now that was a great look. Let's not lie about it. But Michelle Visage was right. That crotch started to roam. And nobody likes a roaming crotch. Just saying. Speaking of costumes, Manila's little bondage bunny was delicious. From the chap boots she had on to the carrot in her mouth and hopping that whole runway. That was a hoot. Just saying. I have to say, I really love Gia's look too. I mean, mostly because this is the draggiest thing she's had on all season. I mean, this is one of the problems that I have with drag when we're talking about a man transforming into a woman. There's female impersonation, which I feel some drag queens are more on the fishier queens. They look like real girls. Clara Ramone, Valentina. These people look like girls, and that's female impersonation. But I feel with drag, there has to be more to it. Like, you have to reshape your face, maybe block out your eyebrows. There has to be something a little more transformative to it. And I feel that with Gia, because she's a trans woman, like when she was in the workroom and then she was on stage, especially as Jenny Bowie, there was no drag for me. I'm not saying that she wasn't doing drag, but that runway look right there, that was drag and that was gorgeous. Just saying. I'm also very glad that Gus said how important Gia's presence on RuPaul's Drag Race was to the trans community, because that's true. But I feel on some level that the trans community is being shortchanged by Gia's unsportsmanlike attitude on this show. I mean, when you're looking for a role model, you want the best, and Gia may look the best, but she certainly doesn't act the best, I'm so saying. I mean, clearly, Gia has issues. I just don't want a subscription. And can I just say, Latrice Royale looked gorgeous in her drippy jeweled boots and bustier. She has been actually killing this whole season. She looks good, she's been performing well, she must be in love. So it was no surprise that Trinity was in the top 2. But I have to say I was a little surprised that Manila beat out Naomi Smalls. Only because I thought Naomi Smalls' Wendy Williams was more of a surprise from Naomi than that Barbra Streisand performance was from Manila. But then I guess it came down to the boots. Manila's runway was a little more impressive than Naomi's. I'm just saying. Of course, it was no surprise to anyone that Gia was in the bottom, but I was a little surprised that Valentina was in the bottom. It must have boiled down to a combination of the ill-fitting boots look and her misplaced Eartha Kitt. Because let's face it, I don't think that Monet or Valentina did better than the other in the Snatch Game of Love. It came down to that runway, and Monet's runway was a little more impressive than Valentina's. Sorry about it. Back in the workroom, Trinity wasted no time in grabbing Manila and hauling her off to a quiet spot so they could get their ducks in a row. And by getting their ducks in a row, I mean kick Gia out, which is why I think Trinity was a little worried at Manila's strategy plan as opposed to a nice workroom environment plan, which is what Trinity had. I mean, I understand what Manila was saying. If this is an opportunity to get a good queen out when she stumbles, because let's face it, when you're an all-star, you only stumble the once, unless you're pheromone, and you trip all over the place. But the point is, I'll bet that Valentina isn't in the bottom for the rest of the season. And I'm only saying that because she wants this more than anyone. And for her to have landed in the bottom this week, it seemed to play on her. I mean, the whole time she was standing on the runway, she just smiled and butter wouldn't melt. You couldn't see what was going on in her mind. It was the cat food song the whole time. And all I have to say is that I think Manila is smart to consider strategy over harmony. But obviously Trinity didn't agree because she wasted no time in telling Valentina that that's what Manila had planned, which of course colored Manila and Valentina's whole conversation. You could see that the whole time Manila was talking, Valentina was just saying, "You're going to kick me out the minute you get a chance. You're going to kick me out the minute you get a chance." Which is why I was very impressed with Valentina when, after Manila made that kind of sad little plea about sharing some grace down the road if it comes to that Valentina said that that was something she would never ask of Manila. I was very impressed by that because that's about performing. And she said, "I want to be in the top. If you want to be in the top, you bring me, you better beat me to be at the top." And that's a competitor. That's how focused Valentina is. And it makes me ask, why aren't these other girls that focused? Seriously. So it looked like Valentina's fate rested in Trinity's lip sync, which is why I was very surprised that Trinity didn't do better. I didn't even like her lip sync outfit. I mean, I thought she would have left the boots on, but then it was Whitney Houston's "How Will I Know," which is a very girly song. But still, it wasn't a bad outfit, the yellow, but Manila's outfit was gorgeous. And Manila just she looked like she was in love. She looked like she wanted to talk about it. And I wasn't surprised with her performance that Manila won. What I was surprised about was that she kicked Gia out, and thankfully so to everyone on the cast, I'm just saying. But seriously, for half a minute there, you could see Valentina just cursing the gods that she was destined never to win RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm so serious. So here's to Manila, because I don't know if I could have put up with Gia too much more longer. I'm just saying. Too much more longer? Is that a word? So, Gia sashayed away, which leaves 7 girls in the contest. Who do you think's next to go home? I think that Manila had better watch her padded butt, because if there wasn't a target on it before, Valentina's put one on it now. I'm so serious. And Monet, I worry for, because she's not consistent enough. Somebody else I'm worrying about, Latrice. She's doing great. I don't want you to think I don't think she's doing great. Her looks have been gorgeous. Her performance in the girl group was great. But she's just landing in the middle of these girls. Do you know what I'm saying? She's not standing out the way I think she needs to. She's delivering the way I thought she would. She hasn't disappointed me at all. But there's got to be something, a little extra, a little sparkle, a little trick in her dance bag is what I'm saying. And I hope she pulls it out soon. Because I just worry. because there's been so many shenanigans. Seriously. Latrice would be an easy person for somebody to kick out over a friend's sake. I'm just saying. Well, the only thing we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race next week and find out what happens. And when you're done, you come on back and see me, and you and I will compare notes. Till next week, miss me. Mwah! Seriously, Jorge. I love little champagne.